the small team of paranormal investigators gathered in the cramped base camp at the edge of the Rocky Mountains. The air was thin and cold, biting at their lungs with every breath. Their mission was to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of Keith Reinhard, a reporter who vanished while investigating similar disappearances in the region. Local legends spoke of the land itself, alive with a sentient hunger, consuming those who dared to probe its secrets. The team was led by Dr. Ellen Moore, a seasoned investigator with an air of quiet authority. Her eyes gleamed with curiosity and determination, traits that had carried her through countless encounters with the inexplicable. She addressed the team, outlining their objectives while reinforcing the importance of maintaining radio contact. Unease settled amongst them as the sun dipped behind the jagged peaks, casting long shadows that seemed to twist unnaturally across the uneven terrain. A sudden wind picked up, howling through the trees with an almost human wail. The investigators shared uneasy glances, their nerves already frayed by the oppressive atmosphere. As they prepared to set out into the wilderness, a sense of foreboding filled the camp. Somewhere, deep within the darkening woods, something primal and ancient watched and waited. The forest loomed around them, a labyrinth of twisted branches and dark secrets. Every crack of a twig underfoot seemed magnified in the silence, increasing the team's tension. The air was thick with the scent of pine and decaying leaves, a perfume of earth and time that clung to their clothes. As they ventured deeper, radios crackling sporadically, the reality of their isolation sunk in. Dr. Moore paused, staring at a peculiar set of footprints, or what appeared to be footprints leading off the trail. They were large, too large for any human foot, and the impressions bore an uncanny resemblance to elongated fingers. The team exchanged glances, their eyes wide with disbelief and fear. Footprints like these have been reported by those who vanished, she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. They continued, the shadows deepening, and the wind's haunting voice growing louder in their ears. Paranoia began to seep into their minds. Every rustle or distant snap, an imagined predator stalking them through the green-black shadows. As they pressed on, a feeling of being watched grew undeniable. The forest closed in, an apex predator snaring its prey within endless corridors of trees and darkness. Night fell with a finality that left them shivering. The sky was a cathedral of darkness and stars, each point of light a watching eye. Quivering lantern beams cut swathes through the thick blackness as the team set up camp, their perimeter bearing the looks of a besieged fortress. Every sound was amplified in the silence that descended, the snap of a twig, the hoot of an owl, filling them with unease. Judith, the team's technical expert, worked on setting cameras and motion detectors around their impromptu campsite. Her hands trembled as she focused the lens on the space just beyond the firelight, a no man's land of quiet menace. She felt the undergrowth's relentless observation, a sensation that gnawed at her confidence. The devices blinked red, capturing more than just shadows. As the others huddled around the fire, Dr. Moore recounted tales of previous expeditions that had ended in mystery or madness. The notion that the forest was devouring those who encroached upon it did not seem so far-fetched here. Amidst the whispering trees and unseen eyes, each story layered another thread of fear into their psyche, the firelight painting their faces with flickers of terror and doubt. The crackling of the portable radio shattered the night, jolting them from an uneasy rest. Static was followed by a garbled voice, distant yet clear in the stillness. "Help, Woods." The voice was undeniably familiar, though distorted, as if submerged beneath water or time itself. It was Keith Reinhard. Panic flared in the camp. Dr. Moore tried to maintain control, her voice a calming presence in the chaos as they attempted to triangulate the source. It could be a trick, she warned, though her eyes betrayed her inner turmoil. But the voice held a desperate edge, a lifeline in the endless night that none could ignore. With renewed urgency, they set out into the night, the forest closing over them once more. Each step felt heavy with consequence, each flicker of noise a ghostly whisper of dread. The radios continued to crackle, fragments of the plea threading through layers of static as the voice carved a path deeper into the heart of the forest. The path through the forest grew treacherous, branches catching and clawing at them like fingers. An oppressive silence dominated, broken only by the occasional call of nocturnal creatures, strangely melodic sounds that shifted between allure and alarm. The further they walked, the more the trees around them seemed to twist and contort, as though protesting their intrusion. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing, a breath of open space in the claustrophobia of the forest. Moonlight spilled into the open, illuminating a scene that defied explanation. A circle of stones, each slick with moisture, and covered in an ancient, unseen lichen, encircled an altar-like formation of rock. It exuded a primal power, a vestige of lost rites and forgotten worship. As they edged closer, the radio emitted another crackling burst, closer now, tinged with an urgency that froze them. It was a warning, but also an invitation, or perhaps a trap. The shadows between the stones seemed to deepen, pulsating with a life of their own. The awareness of being surrounded crept over them, an invisible predator circling the hunters, waiting. As dawn seeped hesitantly into the forest, the team found themselves haunted by the night's events. Exhaustion wore on their faces, but the urgency of Keith's voice spurred them forward. As they pressed on, the light seemed unable to penetrate the thickening forest, leaving them in a perpetual twilight. The terrain grew uneven, tilting beneath their feet as they navigated through briars and rocky outcrops. The landscape itself seemed to conspire against them, leading some to mutter about the land's sentience. Each misstep felt like a judgment passed, their very presence an affront to the forest's primeval consciousness. Around midday, they discovered remnants of Keith's abandoned equipment, a battered camera smeared with mud, a notebook torn and rain-soaked. The notes were indecipherable, as though the forest had grown into the pages, rewriting them in a language of decay and soil. It was a portent, an artifact of a mind, unraveling against the encroaching madness endemic to these woods. A palpable unease gripped the team as they delved further, ensnared in the forest's insidious embrace. The radio signals fluctuated between silence and the spectral voice of Keith, weaving a tapestry of ghostly reassurance and dread. Bound by their mission, they moved ever deeper. As evening descended, they reached a ridge overlooking a ravine steeped in shadow. The sight distorted their perception, a chiaroscuro landscape that shifted and swayed like a living thing. The trees below formed a sea of black waves, ebbing and flowing with an unseen current, their branches beckoning further descent. It was then that Judith, stepping too close to the edge, felt the earth crumble beneath her. The scream echoed as she barely caught herself, hanging precariously between light and darkness. Pulled back to safety, her terror was infectious, spreading through the group and thinning the fabric of their resolve. Together, they watched the forest reshape itself, molding the world to its will.